Let's talk now about mainly the pituitary gland. So those are the glands that we will see in this chapter: pituitary, thyroid, parathyroid, adrenal, pancreas, the gonads, pineal, and the thymus glands. Mainly we will focus on the big glands of our body, okay, those 5 or 6 glands, and we will touch base on the others and other organs that they are secreting certain hormones in our body. The pituitary gland is called the master gland or the main gland of our body. The pituitary gland, as we know, it's located in the brain beneath the hypothalamus, right? And if you remember, the hypothalamus, we said it has 3 big functions in AB1. One of those functions was the homeostasis. The other function was related to emotions. And the third function was controlling the endocrine system, controls the endocrine system. Why it controls the endocrine system? Because it has so much influence over the pituitary gland. And we will see some of the hormones actually of the pituitary gland are produced in the hypothalamus. Now, also we will see that virtually the pituitary gland can affect almost every cell in the body. Why? Because it secretes hormones that would regulate other glands. And therefore, this has influence over almost every other gland in the body. So this is a complex and very big gland in our body, although it's very small in size. Now, the pituitary gland has 2 regions. It has the posterior pituitary and the anterior pituitary. The posterior pituitary is a neural tissue, meaning that it contains plenty of axons, whereas the anterior pituitary is the glandular tissue. It means it has gland cells. Usually those are cuboidal epithelial cells. Okay, so we will start with the posterior pituitary and then we will move to the pituitary, to the anterior pituitary. So we will start with the posterior pituitary. And the posterior pituitary, as I said, it contains mainly axons or axon ends that they will release hormones there, and those hormones will get picked up by the blood capillaries in the posterior pituitary. Those hormones, we are talking about 2 hormones, ADH and oxytocin. Those hormones are technically produced from the hypothalamus. So those hormones are carried through neurons and secreted in the posterior pituitary, and from there they enter the bloodstream. Now, the oxytocin, this is something we already talked about and you saw it in AB1, mainly is to induce contractions, uterine contractions during labor. This is one of the few hormones that acting on a positive feedback. As we said earlier, it means that contractions, right? Contractions would lead to oxytocin secretion, which will lead to more contractions. And more contractions will lead to more oxytocin until the baby is out. So this is a positive feedback. So what you need to know about this oxytocin, it helps in labor or induces labor contractions. Later it will help in breastfeeding. So it has the milk ejection effect or reflex on the breastfeeding moms. The other hormone from the posterior pituitary is the ADH. And ADH is one of the most important hormones in our body because it determines the water levels in our body. It's responsible for the water levels. How? By measuring the blood osmolarity. And as you know, the blood osmolarity is the concentration of solutes. And mainly the most important solutes in the blood is the sodium. And to a certain degree there is the potassium, but we'll focus, or the main one is the sodium, right? So ADH is looking at the concentration of sodium in the blood. So in case we have high blood osmolarity, it means high solutes concentrations, right? This means also we have low water levels. Those are 2 related things, inversely related things. If you have high solutes concentration, it means you have low water levels. If you have low solutes concentrations, very likely also it means you have high water levels. So what we need a balanced situation between the solutes and water. So in case we have high solute concentrations, then again, it means we have low water levels. How to get those solutes or the concentration of the solutes diluted or reduced? We need to increase the water content. And this is what this hormone does. This hormone, its biggest function is to block urine formation. It blocks urine formation. This is the biggest function of the ADH. And in fact, this is its name, antidiuretic. So it's against urination. How does it block urine formation. How does it do this? Remember, urine, or one thing you need to understand is urine, that 99% of it is water. 99% of urine is water. So when ADH is secreted, technically it's telling the kidneys to hold on water or to reabsorb water, meaning don't send water into urine. Therefore, make less urine, right? That is blocking urine formation. Later, we will see that ADH will ask the kidneys or the kidney cells like to put like water channels and increase their permeability to water. Okay, but at least for now, the big thing we need to understand is that ADH will block urine formation. It will ask the kidneys to hold on urine or don't send water to urine and therefore make less urine. Now, ADH is released by negative feedback. So if we have high concentration of ADH, this will cause constrictions of blood vessels, which will increase blood pressure, and this is vasopressin. Now, because blood is also made out of water, 55% of water, of blood is water, then ADH would affect blood volume, and if we are holding water, it means we are going to increase the blood volume of the body. If we hold water, we are increasing the blood volume, and therefore we are increasing the blood pressure. Therefore, ADH is a major hormone also in regulating blood pressure. So ADH, what does it do? It's going to hold water or block urine formation, and as an effect also this would lead to increase blood pressure. So ADH can increase the blood pressure. Okay, another thing for ADH, when it's secreted also, it will cause vasoconstrictions. What does it mean? It means that if we have the blood vessels and the lumen of the blood vessels, this is the lumen, okay, the blood is here inside, okay, when ADH is secreted, it's causing the lumen to shrink, so it will have less space for the blood, and this also would increase the blood pressure. Okay, so it's vasoconstriction for the blood. So think of ADH as this: in case we have high solute concentration or high blood osmolarity or low blood pressure, ADH secreted targets the kidneys, asking them to hold water. This water would go back to the blood and therefore either increase the blood pressure or reduce blood osmolarity. So this is the mechanism of ADH. Now, ADH by itself is acting on negative feedback. So if we have high levels of ADH, will mean reduce ADH production. Okay, so ADH is negatively regulated. Now, ADH by itself, sometimes it can be blocked. Certain substances can block it, like what? Like alcohol. Alcohol blocks ADH formation. Caffeine, for example. That's why, for example, after drinking coffee, you will feel the urge to urinate. So caffeine and alcohol will block ADH production, which means this means if we don't have ADH, it means let urine form, right? Because ADH is the brake on urine formation. Now, if you don't have the brake, then the urine formation would keep going. That's why if you drink a lot of caffeine or if you drink alcohol, you will go to the restroom frequently. And that is also why people with like drinking problems, they might have or they might be at risk of dehydration because they are constantly losing water. Okay, now problems in the ADH, like some people have pituitary gland cancer or problem in their pituitary gland. This might cause less ADH production. Okay, this less ADH production, it means that they can't control, there is no stop on urine formation. So those people will always feel thirsty and they need to urinate, or they urinate a lot. So always thirsty and urinate, always thirsty and urinate. And this is a condition called diabetes insipidus. It's the false diabetes. Why it's false diabetes? Because it's not really diabetes. Diabetes is because there is extra or high sugar levels in the blood. But here it has nothing to do with sugar. Okay, it's just about the ADH. But because it gives the same symptoms of diabetes, like thirsty and the need to urinate, that's why they called it like the false diabetes. Here there is no sugar in urine. This is how this is tested. So if there is no sugar in urine but the symptoms are there, then this is very likely that is diabetes insipidus. Okay, so I will stop here. In the following video we'll talk about the anterior pituitary hormones.